KBYR Morning News and Comment, and it's my pleasure to bring to you somebody from the American Council for Capital Formation. She is Dr. Margo Thorning, and she's the Senior Vice President and Chief Economist of ACCF. Go out to ACCF.org, and you can find out more about them. Dr. Thorning, thanks so much for being on with me.
My pleasure, Glenn.
I make the case that there has been probably the most dramatic transformation in America is the intent to live on behalf of our children to a much more selfish and self-centered society that we have together, that we don't care who pays for it. All we care is whether or not we get our benefits from the government. And it sounds like your organization really is dedicated to a lot of addressing, kind of that change in society.
Well, we try to focus on policies that will encourage investment and job growth, because the private sector is the source of economic growth. So one of the issues we've been looking at recently is the huge boom in oil and gas production across the U.S., especially places like North Dakota, Wyoming, Oklahoma, Texas. And of course, Alaska is a huge source of energy too, and could be an even larger source with different policies. So I'd like to take the opportunity to make your listeners aware of some of the new work ACCF has put on their website. I have a new paper, How Federal Energy Policies Can Support U.S. Economic Recovery. And it's very clear from some of the new work that's come out from groups like the McKinsey Institute that expanding our oil and gas production through the shale gas technology can be a huge source of job and economic growth. And our problem, in my view, in the U.S. is job growth and investment. We're just lagging behind. Our economic recovery is slow. 11 million people are not working that probably would like to be working. And so until we turn around and focus on areas where there's real economic opportunity, I think we're going to continue to struggle. This McKinsey report makes the case that one of the top things we can do is expand oil and gas production. That's what they say that by 2020, GDP could be between 2 and 4% higher than it is, or between 380 to 690 billion higher by 2020 if we continue to expand shale oil and shale gas. Other things they say, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, that's very positive, and that's exactly what we should do. If we just unlocked Alaska just a little bit, that could be, well higher than that.
Exactly, and of course, Alaskan oil production's been falling in recent years, and if that could be reversed, and if your natural gas reserves can be developed, I know there's some activities that ConocoPhillips, BP, and ExxonMobil are working together in the Alaska South Central LNG project, liquefied natural gas. I understand that they've already spent $700 million, and there's a potential for another $45 billion in spending. Each $1 billion in investment generates about 23,000 jobs on average in the U.S., so that could be a huge source of job growth and economic growth for Alaska.
I'm talking here with Dr. Margo Thorning. She is the Senior Vice President and Chief Economist for the American Council for Capital Formation. The President and his party have really had their run of the place for quite a long period of time, and as you say, there are 11 million people who would like to have a job who don't have a job. Longest period of over 7% unemployment in modern times. Is the message of conservatism and the message of free markets and investment and new jobs, is that going to mean a change in party in Washington, D.C.?
It might. If the GDP growth stays at 1 to 2%, it wouldn't surprise me if there wouldn't be a shift in Washington in the next round of elections. But what we need to focus on right now is making sure that policymakers and the media and the public are aware of the need to accentuate the things that we can go ahead with. And of course, for example, speeding up the permitting of groups that have applied to export LNG is another major issue, because with more natural gas production across the U.S., we'll see more job growth, more chemical production, because liquids are often found with drilling for dry gas. We'll see stronger manufacturing and the ancillary industries that support the drilling industry and the transportation of it. It all will be a very large boost, as a new report by ICF, the consulting firm, points out. And in my paper, Liquefied Natural Gas, Why Rapid Approval of the Backlog is Important for U.S. Prosperity, documents the new ICF work. And I encourage your listeners to log on to actonlng.org. That's our new website, where we're becoming a clearinghouse for information on the whole liquefied natural gas exportation issue. So
yeah, it's a great opportunity for new industry. I'm talking here with Dr. Margo Thorning. She is Senior Vice President, Chief Economist, American Council for Capital Formation, ACCF.org. She just mentioned liquefied natural gas site, actonlng.org, and I hope people do go out and find out about that. You talk about the permitting backlog, and really it's not just permitting. There's regulatory, there's permitting, there's legal processes, and all of it work against sort of a rationalized process like you'll find in Norway or Canada or Mexico.
Right.
When Norway says, here's your lease, if you don't produce this within 2 to 3 years, you will lose this lease. Here, we told Shell, here's a lease, now go to court for 5 years, and then we'll think about giving you the leases you actually need to produce. That doesn't make any sense.
That's right. And my paper, the one on Act on LNG, documents the 8-stage process that applicants have to go through with DOE and then FERC. So it's a very lengthy process, and DOE has been sitting on some of these applications for 2 years. And your listeners should be aware that 63 projects are being planned outside the U.S. by Iran, Algeria, Russia,
Dr. Thorning,
other countries.
American Council for Capital Formation, ACCF.org, actonlng.org. Thank you so much for being a part of the program, and good luck creating jobs in our country.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Folks,